first time I recorded this was on Saturday, right after the game jam started, and then on Wednesday. So we're going to go over a couple of things, and then I'm going to show off the code that I did. That should be synced up just fine, unlike the rest of what I recorded. Should have checked it sooner. Anyway, so this game jam is the Bad Game Ideas game jam, the first one for that group to put out. The theme is outside the box. So I had a couple of different ideas for that, narrowed it down to 2. And then after trying to implement the basics of both, I realized one requires me to do something I've spent years trying to figure out. And when I say years, I mean since 2019, maybe longer, trying to figure out how to do this. So, and that is getting a working dungeon, auto dungeon creator. There are plenty of tutorials for different game systems and they work, but whenever I try and make them work, they don't work. But if I could get that to work, I could get other game ideas I really want to do working. So I ended up narrowing it down to one where I have the pitch written down. I need to record this separately with it not being read, but pitch idea. You play as a woman trapped in an illusion as she fights off a demon who is trying to keep her there. All she has is a vague notion that things aren't right. As she fights and loses, she is able to regain memories. Some memories are stronger than others and allow for stronger stats during the fight. Once the demon is defeated, she is able to escape into the real world. I think that's a fun little pitch idea, concept thing. So, yeah. That is what I have there. The other one was a style of bullet hell, where you're a vampire trying to get back to your coffin each night while you have wooden stakes and holy symbols firing at you from all angles. I think that one could have been fun if I could have gotten like any of the stuff implemented correctly, but it's a lot of stuff I don't understand. So it would have been a month essentially of trying to figure out basics rather than just programming. Whereas this one is a turn-based strategy style. Sort of like Pokemon for half of it, and then it's another style for the other half. Haven't fully narrowed down what that other half is, and we got the first week pretty much over. So we'll see. But I've gotten the turn-based section figured out, and if I had been able to focus for a couple of days straight versus having to deal with some medical stuff and having to sleep most of the day, I would have gotten that part done a lot faster. Because as it was, I think I got started on Saturday, and then by Wednesday, I was able to get to the code to the level that I'm about to show you. And yeah, it essentially was 2 days worth of coding that spread out that length of time, which is frustrating to me. But again, I have medical issues that make it to where sometimes I just can't. So I'm grateful that this is a month-long one and not a week-long one. Because if it was a week-long one, I would have failed from the jump. Or pushed myself too hard. Without further ado, here is the code. So the first thing I want to mention is that I originally made the stats as just a class and was referencing it and using it as a component. which is great for like state machines and stuff, which is something I'm probably going to have to actually learn this time. But after watching Quebble's advanced stat system in Godot, XP leveling, buffs, etc., I realized making it a resource makes more sense because you can manipulate everything from there rather than having to edit the child of the main component or the main node. You can edit it within there. So currently the stats and stat buff all work off of how Quebble's video works. So I'm not going to go in and reiterate. This was my original understanding of how to do it down here, the different functions. And I was just going to do it like brute forced versus calculations. So if you want to understand how the stats and stat buff work, go ahead and watch that video. I'll make sure it's linked down below. But for the player and enemy, they both work pretty similarly, but I will go over both. I still had to have an export component or an export variable, for stats. So that way it will actually show up in the inspector to be inspected and messed with. And I did the same for the buttons, the node for the enemy, which you attach once you have them in the battle area. So this wouldn't work if you were instancing them within the code. They have to already be existent in the main area. Otherwise, you can't draw it with an export. And then I did the player progress bar or health progress bar, and I did a signal to show that the player had finished their turn. I forget what I was researching at the time that said do that. If I find it, I will link it down below or put it on screen. But essentially, that's the easiest way without having the code all in one script to tell the enemy, hey, it's your turn, is to emit a signal at the end of whatever turn the player took. So yeah, I made sure to do that. And so at the end of the ready, this sets the health bar for the player, and within the enemy it has the same thing, but it right now there's a bug and it doesn't do it for the enemy. It just does it for the player until the player attacks, and then the health boosts all the way to the top minus whatever damage the player did, which really doesn't make sense, so I have to fix that bug. The health bar pulls from the signal that is sent here and updates the health and the max health. And then right now I have a print to make sure that all of that's working correctly, which you can see down here in the output section down below. On attack, the enemy's stats health, so it's drawing on the stats, this script that is attached to the enemy, and its health that is set on the right hand side, and then minusing it by the current attack of the player, which is just stats.current attack. And that is because we don't have to call the player's stats.current attack because it's implied that we're talking about the self. And then I print how much that is, and then that the turn has been finished, and then that admits, and then it goes over to the enemy. If it's defense, it runs pretty similarly. It's just defend rather than attack. And I thought this was going to be a little harder to figure out, like how does it know how much I'm defending for and everything. And it's the same. You just flip it from the attack to defense and make sure that it's calling the defense versus the current attack, and it works.
And then heal is just stats current heal plus health. So, and that's how much you heal for it. Like it for as long as it's taken me to make this, it feels really simple and like I should have made it in a day. So, but I also know I'm dealing with some health stuff, so that's just gonna bog down the mental brain power. So in the enemy script, we export the player the same way we exported the enemy, um, the health progress bar, and the stats, and then we send a signal for the enemy has finished their turn, and then again we instance the stats health, but because there's only one of these, it I think is the reason why it doesn't signal out correctly. So I might need to have one, like, I don't know what I'm going to do here because this signal right here is what is being called. Anyway, back to enemy. And then this is setting up the connection for the enemy to know that the players finished their turn. This is just a note saying, hey, there's a bug. This is about where you fix it. And then the rest of this is pretty similar to what's over in the player besides this. And again, thought it'd be a lot harder to figure out. I did one Google search with the right searching, and someone had asked it back in 24, and it was 2 lines. It was make an array as a variable, and then call that variable array dot pick random dot call, and then it just randomly chooses one of these. That's it. I'm sure there's a way to do it and have it weighted a little bit and do some more advanced stuff with it. But right now, this works. I'll show you how that works. So as you can see, the player's health is full. The enemy health up here is not. As soon as I hit attack, it's full, minus what you just attacked for. And I'll raise this up so we can see down here that the player health is 60, enemy health is 500, enemies down to 480 out of 500 because of the AS20 attack. Yeah. Enemy health 480, enemy healed for 500. So they fully healed, yet it's not updating the fact that they fully healed. So I don't know what that's about. So then we'll defend. It's a good thing we defended, because apparently the enemy attacked us. It doesn't say in here what's going on. So I need to add in the print statements a little bit better, I guess. Then we'll press heal. We healed for 11. It's not updating the heals, and I died. What? Okay, anyway, that's the update I have. And right now you can still keep doing stuff because I haven't set up the you've died, go to the next section thing yet. Am I recording on the day this is supposed to go out? Don't talk about it. Don't talk about it. Should it have gone out 2.5 hours ago? Don't talk about it. Anyway, I did a few more things, made some more notes. Wanted to throw that into here. I started making the game route, which I've done in pretty much every other game I've done now. The transition screen. I've started creating the main menu screen. See, did I add anything to the player? I should have double checked. Okay, so I added the player dead signal. Started getting that ready. The same with the enemy dead. And if the enemy dies, you've won the game, so that needs to be its own thing. And for the player dying, I need to add in a couple of different if statements into this one. But right now it would just transition. And then I needed to create the scene switcher so that way the transition transitions somewhere. And that's pretty much all I did the rest of Wednesday. And then haven't touched it since because health problems. Yay. Anyway, I figured I'd give you that little update because you won't get another one until next week. And hopefully there's a lot more progress. I will see you guys next time. I hope you had or have a wonderful day and that you get to or got to eat something delicious. I'll see you guys next time.